The Galactic Council chamber fell silent when High Commander of the Empire stepped forward. His four eyes scanned the assembled representatives from 37 different species. Each one wore the same expression of fear that had become common in recent cycles. The devouring swarm has consumed 17 star systems in the past rotation, announced, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Our combined fleets have failed to slow their advance. We have lost over 400 million soldiers. Our weapons barely scratch their bioships. Ambassador of the Collective raised her delicate hand. Her species was known for their advanced technology and peaceful nature. They had never known war until the swarm appeared. "What options remain to us?" she asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. His mandibles clicked together nervously. "There is one possibility that the military council has discussed, but I must warn you all, it comes with great risk." "Speak," demanded the representative from the Borax Federation, a massive creature made of living stone. "We face extinction. No risk is too great." Took a deep breath. "We could contact the humans." The chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives screamed, shouted, and some even fled toward the exits. Security forces had to restore order. It took nearly an hour before the council could continue. Ambassador stood again, her face pale. "You cannot be serious. The humans are barely 1,000 years into space travel. They are young, violent, and completely unpredictable. Have you forgotten what happened to the Empire?" Every being in the room remembered. They had been a powerful military force. They had ruled over 100 systems and enslaved dozens of species. When they attempted to claim Earth as part of their territory, they sent a fleet of 5,000 warships. None returned. The humans had been in space for only 200 years at that point. They had no advanced shields, no energy weapons, and their ships were slow compared to vessels. But within 6 standard months, the entire fleet was destroyed. The humans then proceeded to liberate every enslaved world in space. They dismantled the Empire completely. When the galactic community asked the humans how they had achieved such an impossible victory, the human ambassador had simply smiled and said, "We got creative." That phrase had haunted the galaxy ever since. "The humans are contained in their sector," said Minister of the Pelian Union. "They have agreed to stay within their boundaries. If we invite them out, if we show them the larger galaxy, who knows what they might do? They might be worse than the swarm." Nodded slowly. "I understand your concerns. I share them. But the swarm will reach the core worlds within 20 rotations. After that, there will be no galaxy left to protect from humans or anyone else." The debate continued for 3 standard days. Representatives argued, threatened, and pleaded. Some suggested surrendering to the swarm. Others proposed a mass evacuation to distant galaxies. A few even suggested destroying human space before contacting them, to eliminate the threat permanently. In the end, survival won over fear. A message was sent to Earth. 3 standard weeks passed before a response arrived. It was brief. "We're on our way. Try not to die before we get there." The Council did not know whether to feel relieved or terrified. The human fleet arrived at the border of swarm-controlled space exactly 42 days later. The Council had expected perhaps a few hundred ships. The humans sent 12. 12 ships against a swarm that had devoured entire civilizations. Fleet Admiral Wei stood on the bridge of the flagship, the unconquered spirit. She was a small woman by human standards, barely reaching the shoulder of most of her crew. But her eyes held a fire that made even the largest warriors nervous. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "swarm bioships detected. Initial count is approximately 300,000. More are emerging from hyperspace." Wei nodded calmly. "Good, I was worried this might be too easy." The observer aboard the ship, a young officer named, felt his heart stop. 300,000 bioships could consume entire worlds. Each one was the size of a small moon, filled with billions of swarm creatures. "Admiral," said carefully, "perhaps we should call for reinforcements. The Council can send additional fleets." Wei turned to him with an amused expression. "Officer, do you know why the swarm has been so successful against your combined forces?" Thought for a moment. "They adapt quickly. They learn from every battle and become resistant to our weapons." "Exactly," Wei said. "They adapt to everything you throw at them, but that adaptation takes time. Your combined fleets attack with the same weapons, the same tactics, over and over. You give them time to learn." She turned back to the humans don't fight like that. We don't give our enemies time to adapt. The 12 human ships spread out in a pattern that made no tactical sense too. They seemed completely random, scattered across thousands of kilometers of space. "Launch the first gift," Wei ordered. From each ship, hundreds of small pods shot into space. They moved toward the swarm fleet at incredible speed, expected them to be destroyed immediately. Instead, they passed through the swarm formation completely. "What are those?" asked. "Patience," Wei replied. The pods reached the center of the swarm fleet and detonated, but they did not explode with fire or energy. Instead, they released clouds of something that instruments could not identify. Within minutes, swarm ships began to go dark. Their organic hulls started to dissolve. Creatures inside them died screaming. "What did you do?" whispered in horror. "The swarm is biological," Wei explained. "Their ships are living creatures. Their warriors are organic, so we created something biological to fight them. A very special virus, designed specifically to attack their genetic structure. But the swarm will adapt. They always adapt." Wei smiled. "This virus adapts too. It learns from them as they try to fight it. It becomes stronger every time they resist. In a few hours, it will have evolved into something completely different, then again, and again." Watched as the swarm fleet began to die. Ships that had terrified the galaxy collapsed into dead husks. Warriors that had slaughtered billions melted into organic soup. But the swarm was vast. Even as millions died, millions more arrived. They began to adapt, creating new defenses against the virus. "They're developing immunity," reported, his voice tight with fear. "The virus is becoming less effective." "Of course," Wei said, "launch the second gift." Another wave of pods emerged from the human ships. This time, they released nanomachines, microscopic robots that swarmed through space, entering swarm ships through their hull pores. They began to dismantle everything they touched, breaking down organic matter into its component atoms. The swarm screamed. Their ships tried to close their defensive systems against the tiny invaders, but the nanomachines simply rebuilt themselves from whatever they consumed. For every one destroyed, 10 more were created. "This is impossible," breathed. "How did you develop such weapons so quickly?" Wei shrugged. "We had 3 months, that's plenty of time." 3 months? It would take our scientists decades to create something like this. "Your scientists," Wei said gently, "work to understand. Humans work to win, it's a different mindset." The battle continued for 6 hours. The swarm threw everything it had at the human fleet. Biomissiles, acid clouds, psychic attacks, and weapons that bent space itself. The human ships took damage. 2 were destroyed, but they kept fighting. Each time the swarm adapted to a human weapon, a new weapon emerged. Chemical attacks, sonic disruptions, gravitational pulses, and things that could not even begin to understand. The humans seemed to have an unlimited supply of terrible creativity. When it was over, the swarm fleet was gone, not retreated, gone, every ship destroyed, every warrior killed, 300,000 bioships reduced to floating debris. Wei stood on her bridge looking out at the carnage. Her face showed no satisfaction, only weariness. "How many did we lose?" she asked quietly. 2 ships, 437 crew members. Wei closed her eyes, informed their families, every one of them was a hero. Could not understand. 400 dead out of an enemy of 300,000 ships. It was the most one-sided victory in galactic history, yet the Admiral treated it as a tragedy. Perhaps that was what made humans so frightening. The Galactic Council received the news with stunned silence. The swarm, which had threatened to consume everything, had been stopped by 12 ships and 3 months of human preparation. But now they faced a new problem. The humans had saved them. What would they want in return? Ambassador Martinez arrived at the council 3 weeks later. He was an older human with gray hair and kind eyes, not the terrifying warrior they had expected. "The swarm is broken," he announced. "Our forces have pushed into their home systems. Within a year they will be extinct." "What do you want from us?" High Commander asked. His voice was careful. Everyone expected demands, territory, resources, perhaps even tribute. Ambassador Martinez smiled. It was a warm smile, the kind a grandfather might give to worried children. "We want to trade. We want to learn about your cultures. We want to explore the galaxy with you, not against you." The council waited for the real demands. They never came. "That is all?" Ambassador asked in disbelief. "That is all," Martinez confirmed. "We humans have spent our entire history fighting each other. We're tired of fighting. We came out here hopping to find friends. Instead, we found a galaxy full of people who were afraid of us. That makes us sad." He paused, looking around the chamber. "We will always defend those who cannot defend themselves. That is simply who we are, but we would rather build than destroy. We would rather create than kill. Give us a chance to be your partners, not your protectors. Let us show you the best of what humanity can be." The council was silent for a long time. Finally, Ambassador stood. She walked across the chamber floor, her steps echoing in the quiet. She stopped in front of Martinez and extended her hand in the human gesture of friendship. "Welcome to the galaxy," she said softly. "We are glad you came." And in that moment, all those prayers that humans would never appear seemed foolish. The galaxy had been given a gift. They had been too afraid to see it. Now they finally could. The universe would never be the same again.